Hello, everyone. It's been a while, but I am Todd Black, and today we have a very special interview lined up today. We are going to be talking with an arguably a legend in the world of voice acting and cartoons. Allow me to introduce.
Susan Eisenberg. Well, I'm Susan Eisenberg, and I follow the nerd.
Yes, she does, and the nerd's me today. Yeah. So for those who don't recognize the name, which shame on you all. Uh, Miss Susan Eisenberg, who I'll be referring to as Susan throughout this podcast, is one of the most well-known voices for Wonder Woman. She was in the amazing Justice League cartoon and Justice League Unlimited and various other DC animated movies and properties. Susan, thank you so much for being here today.
You're so welcome. You've been so sweet and polite and
Aw.
dear. It is my pleasure.
Oh, you're too kind. Wonder Woman said I'm sweet. That's awesome. So, all right. So I noted in my introduction that you are, the voice of Wonder Woman, but that doesn't even quantify because to many, including me, you are the voice of Wonder Woman because of your roles in the cartoons and the movies. What's that like? I mean, because I follow you on Twitter, and we've chatted there, and I see like all these amazing fans, give you their Wonder Woman art, and it's of your version of Wonder Woman, and they're always asking you about your Wonder Woman questions, and what's that like just to have this fan base like see you and say, that's my Wonder Woman, you know?
I've said it often, but I'll say it again because it couldn't be more true, and that is that it's a privilege, and it never ever gets old. It never feels unexciting or tiring, or it's a gift. And having that relationship with the fans, especially on Twitter, because I'm not on Facebook, um, that's that's been a game changer for me. Because before that, when we did the show, you knew that there were fans out there, but this is so personal. This is people showing me their art or talking to me, or me talking to them, and there's a real conversation going on. And that's invaluable. It's just invaluable. And the fact that people associate me with the character because they did watch the Justice League and that's who they grew up with, that Wonder Woman, Bruce Timm's Wonder Woman, um, that was a privilege to play her and to voice her, and it's a privilege because it keeps going. That was in 2000, and it's 2016, and I'm still doing that. So it's that's an extraordinary thing.
Yeah, actually, that was actually one of my questions for later, but we'll just jump to it now. There's been so much talk about DC Comics and its cartoons, and usually when that starts up, a conversation immediately breaks out about the what's referred to as the DC animated universe, which is where Batman and Superman and Justice
Sure.
League were a part of, and it's just like. Especially for me, I actually did a feature on one of the websites I work for about like the most shocking moments in the DCAU because to me they're like yesterday. I still think of them as they're like this on this pedestal, and it's like you said, it's been like 15 plus years, and yet we're still talking about them as if they had just happened. Is that just like mind
But I think,
blowing?
but I think that it speaks to the quality of the program,
Yes.
and that's not just the voice talent. Although I think the voice talent obviously contributes, but it's the writing, it's the direction, the writing especially. Um, it was really a special show, and I don't know that we totally understood that while it was on going on, but certainly, there's no one who was affiliated with the show who doesn't look back on it and think, "Wow, was I lucky? Wow, was that extraordinary?" And I think we all, the actors and Andrea Romano, we got a taste of that when we did New York Comic Con because we were reunited for the first time, and we didn't have a lot of notice before the con, so we couldn't get the word out like a year in advance. It was very, very little advance notice
I
to the
remember that.
fans. Right, and 3,000 people showed up.
3,000.
Just yeah, and So, you know, I'm being in that room when we when we opened it up for questions, Todd. There was such a stampede to the mics for questions. I thought I it was surreal. I had no idea what was going on in the room because the noise was so loud from everybody getting up from their chairs to go to the microphone to ask the questions. So,
Wow.
again, yes, we went off the air in 2006. There have been movies since then. The ones I did, Apocalypse,
Doom.
um, and Doom, and of course, other games and things like that, which aren't totally affiliated with the series. But a series like that is, once in a lifetime, and I think that we all know that. I think the fans know it, the actors know it, the writers, everyone who was associated with the project, including the fans, because it was theirs too. I think there's no one in that group that doesn't say that was something utterly special.
It was, and I mean, just to go, off script and just fanboy for a second. That was my show. Like, my father got me into, superheroes because he got me into
Mhm.
Batman the animated series, which of course led to Superman the animated series, which led to Justice League and,
Right.
Batman Beyond, Justice League Unlimited. Like, that was my childhood. And I write comics on the side, and I truly believe that it was these groups of shows, the storytelling, the passion that I could just see in it, and the writing and the voice acting and just everything that all came together for these amazing shows. It inspired me to do these things. And so when you say, like, 3,000 people put there, it could have easily, in my mind, been like 10,000. I'm sure they had to cut people off at the door because it's like, no, we can't fit any more fans. And so I would have loved to have been in that panel, and I definitely would have been one of those people racing for the microphone. you
Well,
know.
and the thing is, I would love to do other reunion shows. It's very challenging to get all of us together. It's very challenging to find a venue that can afford us because it's
Yeah.
a lot of people and flying them in and everything. We were lucky that New York Comic Con wanted it and stepped up to give us that. So, and the fans that was a gift. I'd love to recreate it because it was the first, like I say, the first time we'd all been together in a room and we read. I don't know if you saw the video for it, but we read from the original scripts.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Right.
Oh,
So, yeah, it gave us all, I mean, it's not like we're so far away from the fans. We're fans also of the show.
you
And
are.
so it gave us goosebumps reading that material again
Yeah.
and playing those scenes and interacting with each other. I mean, I haven't been in a recording studio with these people since the show ended. Um, Periodically I've worked with Phil Lamar, but not on a DC project. So
Fair enough.
it was it made us giddy. It just made us giddy. I'm serious.
Uh, yeah, I remember the hype leading up to that. It's just like the JLU, the Justice League is coming back. The Justice League is reuniting for New York Comic Con, and it's just like all of it. It made me wish I live in Illinois, so it's just like no, I can't get to New York, but man, that would have been so cool. And then I
Well,
remember like, go
and
ahead.
again, if I have my say, like if because I organized that reunion and it was very challenging. And I would love to do it all over the country. There are fans all over the country who we would love to see, and I think who would love to see us. So that's something I'm working on as we speak. I mean, I'm always working on that and trying to make that happen for the fans.
A lot of
It's been a frustration for me that we haven't been put together again. So I want to do that. I kind of took it upon myself to say, okay, well, if the studio isn't going to do it, then I'm going to step up and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to try to get us all together in the same room for people.
well, if there have been people who have not loved you before, they love you now. So that's awesome.
Well, but if you're me, you're hearing fans all the time saying, "Why aren't you guys together? Why aren't you and Kevin and George and Maria and Carl
So
um, and Michael? Why aren't you all together in other projects?" And we have no control over that.
that's true.
We're actors, and we're people always say to me, "Well, how'd you decide to play Wonder Woman?" Well, I didn't decide. I was hired. They decided, and was lucky enough to get that job, but it's a job, and it's not like I'm sitting home, eating bonbons saying, wonder what character I'll play today.
If only,
It's
right?
if only, and you're auditioning and you're trying to get work and you're trying to make a living and all of that good stuff, and it's great, but there's very little control. And so the reunion was something that I got sparked to, because I thought, well, how can I do this? How can I make this happen? And there were a lot of false starts, a lot of other places I thought it was going to happen at. But with New York, they were the ones that came through. And other than Michael Rosenbaum, which was, a huge disappointment to the fans and to
Yeah.
us, everyone else was able to sign on and we made it happen. So
Yeah.
keep your fingers crossed that we can do it again.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna throw this out there. C2E2, which is the Chicago Big Comic
Right,
Con. That
right.
I go there every year. That's like my con. So
Well, we're working on it, so
yeah.
we'll keep
So
you posted.
you can't do it this year because I mean that's like 5 days away at the time of this recording. But next year, Justice
Okay,
League Chicago, let's do it. I'll help.
let's do it.
uh, so
Well, the best thing the fans can do is talk to the cons. Talk to the cons, communicate with the cons. They're all online. They're all on Twitter.
yeah,
Communicate what you want, because they need to know that the fans will show up if they book us.
that's
That's
fair.
true of anybody, because it's they're not doing it just for fun. It's a business like any other business, so
True.
they need to make money. They need to know that if they ask us to come and they pay our way, that the fans will show up to get our autograph and to take pictures with us and listen to our panels and all of that stuff.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people in Chicago who would definitely do that. Some of them are even artists, and I'm sure they would do like custom pieces just so they could show it off at that panel. So I will take up your flag.
Okay,
Cool.
I'm going to give you the baton, Todd. Now run with it.
I will. C2EG 2017. Let's get the Justice League there.
Woo!
Yeah, yeah, justice. No, uh, now getting back to Wonder Woman, uh, the character's really gone through kind of a renaissance of sorts in like the last, I'd say, 5 years since 2012. In the comics, she was revitalized in many ways. She had this epic comic run that actually earned like numerous comic awards, and there's been like shorts, which you did one for a DC Nation.
Yes.
That was very stylized. That was very cool. Um,
Yeah, I that was very fun, because that was really such a departure from the other stuff.
yeah.
I'm not sure. Do you think a lot of people saw it? Do you think a lot of people
Um,
knew about it?
well, it's complicated because the shorts were in DC Nation, and so if you didn't watch
Right,
DC Nation, you didn't watch it unless.
right.
But then again, you also have we're in the age of social media where they could say, "Dude, have you seen this?" And I know like
Yeah,
some of
yeah.
this was on YouTube, so it's just like, "Dude, watch this. This is like super Wonder Woman." And they have Wonder Woman Susan Eisenberg here, so it's. I'm sure some people saw it, and I saw it because I watched DC Nation faithfully, and so that's why I was like, "Wow, this is Wonder Woman." Oh wait, that's Susan Eisenberg. Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's great. I love hearing that.
yeah, but well, I love hearing you as Wonder Woman. So there you go. Uh, but
Thank you.
no, you are most welcome. Uh, but do you like to think that her role in your role in the Justice League cartoon really helped spark this? Because for those who don't read the comics, there's kind of been like this void of because when you think of DC Comics and like the animated, you always think of sadly, you think of Batman because he's had like infinite a number of shows, and then Superman had his own show, and then which
Mhm.
went into Justice League, and he had a Legion of Superheroes on when that was on Kids WB. But Wonder Woman was really kind of quote unquote restricted to Justice League and then Justice League Unlimited, and now she's much more prominent in the comics, and she's uh in gonna get her solo movie, which we're gonna have to talk about obviously.
Mhm.
But do you think that your portrayal of her in the Justice League cartoon really helped, and like the subsequent movies helped spark this kind of renaissance for the character?
Honestly, Todd, I mean that's a very good question, but that's not a question that I feel like I can answer, because it, it I, I think that's for other people to answer rather than me.
That's fair.
It just would feel strange to say, yes, I had something to do. That's for other people to really analyze and to figure out. And I think it was well past her time. the last time we saw her live action was with Linda Carter, and for many people, Linda Carter defined her.
She did.
Like for me, she defined her because that's the generation I'm in, and so I grew up watching Linda Carter as Wonder Woman, and she was extraordinary. I felt she was extraordinary in that part, but I don't know why precisely it's happening now. All I know is that I'm grateful it's happening, and it's long overdue.
I agree.
Long overdue,
I
because
agree.
Batman and Superman, the thing is that I don't take anything away from them, and I've said this over and over again. Everyone knows I love Batman, and I adore Superman. So the more the merrier, but I just think she deserves her place at the table. And she hasn't quite been given that. I think she deserves, whether it's with me or without me, I think she deserves to be in the animated world. I think she deserves to be in the live action world. I think she deserves to be in the video game world. I've long been advocating for a Wonder Woman game like an Arkham, because I think that would be phenomenal,
Yeah.
and I think the fans would love it.
I would love it.
But
Okay.
again, I'm an actor saying this. I'm not in a power position
Yeah.
to make it happen. The fans can make it happen,
Okay.
because if the fans want something and they're vocal enough about it, I mean, look at the Young Justice right now, like what's
Yes.
happening with Young Justice. I mean,
Yes.
renew Young Justice, hashtag renew Young Justice. God, that would be such a great, I would love for that to happen. I would
Yeah.
love it, because how cool would that be
Yeah.
for the fans to make that happen?
They did.
And, and Greg Weisman, to his vast credit, is so generous. He has answered every tweet
Yeah.
about Young Justice. I mean, he has asked more than anybody I know about their show and why isn't it still on the. I mean, I don't get asked about. We were lucky; we had 5 seasons. That's a lot for cartoon.
That's true.
And I never get asked, like, are there going to be any more? I mean, that's not something people ask. But with Greg, I mean, Young Justice, it's talked about every day.
Well,
Every day.
Well, for being absolutely fair here, the difference between what happened with Justice League Unlimited, by the time the end came, and
Yeah.
Young Justice was Young Justice ended on a cliffhanger, because I am Young Justice loyal right here, so hashtag renewed Young Justice myself, but it's just like they ended with this massive cliffhanger, whereas
Right.
Justice League Unlimited, where you literally did like the roll call of like all
We
the
did.
heroes, and even you had the last line,
Yeah.
like the journey continues, which was totally
Adventure.
awesome.
The adventure
Uh,
continues.
that was a definitive ending, more or less. So I think that's why fans are more content with saying, okay, they had their run because you ended on that note.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point, and it's true. We did have a really, we had a beautiful ending.
You
I mean,
did.
no one
I
likes
cried.
endings, but it was beautiful. I mean, they did an amazing job. So yeah, I mean, Young Justice people are like, huh?
Oh,
Where's our ending? Where's our series? Where's our show?
where's your season 3? So
Yeah, I don't know if you know this. I don't know if you followed this on Twitter, but or I'm sure it's on Facebook as well. Is
go ahead.
that I'm going to be doing a panel in a couple of weeks
Okay.
with Greg Weisman and Kevin Conroy
Uh-huh.
for WonderCon.
Okay.
They're going to be doing a Young Justice versus Justice League panel.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, it's going to be pretty wild. It's going to be pretty wild. Yes,
Wow.
that's at WonderCon at the end of the month.
Wow, man, I wish I was there. Sadly,
I mean, but yeah, hopefully they'll live stream it or tape it or something so that the fans can see, because obviously not everyone's here in Los Angeles can see, go to that event. So hopefully, but I mean, if you follow my Twitter feed, I'll let people know where they can find it.
So you follow her at Susan Eisenberg 1, I believe it is, right?
Yeah, that's right.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Yeah. And while you're there, because this is going to be my next question, I want you to say to Greg Weisman, and then to get the fans' response, because just like you said, get the fans going on this. Wonder Woman animated series, voiced by you. I want it, because Batman has had infinite amount of series. Superman had his. This is supposed to be a trinity here, and you're the only piece that hasn't had her own animated solo series. And so let's get the fans behind this. Let's get Greg Weisman behind this. Wonder Woman, the animated series.
I mean, you're not going to get any argument with me. Nothing would make me happier. Nothing would make me happier.
Yeah.
So we'll see. That would be
Yeah, so
That would be
post that to, wait for like a lull, and then like between band questions go, by the way, I was thinking about a Wonder Woman animated series. Would you guys like that? Would you like it if I came back and did
no.
that?
You know what? See, that's no. See, that's what I cannot do.
Oh, you
That's
can't?
just no. Well, but because it's not natural for me to do that. That's not something that I would feel comfortable doing.
Oh,
I
okay.
again, it's like I think that if the fans want that, then they. I mean, I would love that, but then, but it's not for me to say, "Hey, fans, give me, your support in this." I mean, that just, that doesn't feel cool to me. But
Okay.
we'll talk about it another time.
That's fair. And if anything, I'll find someone who is at LA and I'll have them ask. So
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
pass the baton. All right. So naturally, and I will try and keep this short. Batman v Superman.
Hmm.
Wonder Woman is in it, and then she's getting her own film. It's Gal Gadot.
Hmm.
Um, I heard you like Gal. You know, you like what you've seen so far.
I
Uh,
don't know Ball at all, and I was really struck when it was first announced that she was going to play her. That people were really there was a lot of negativity, which
they were
surprised me
mean.
because yeah, and I haven't seen that much of it personally on Twitter, but obviously I've heard tale of it, and people have been very
It's
vocal
bad.
about it. But I've always been of the mind that you need to give somebody the chance, and you need
Yes.
to give the film the chance, and let's hope that it's going to be wonderful, and let's believe that it'll be wonderful. And if it's not, and if we're disappointed, fair enough. But let's stay open minded,
Yeah,
and let's be
I agree.
excited for the opportunity that she's finally getting her movie. I mean,
Yes.
how exciting is that? Like, rather than turning it into negativity, let's stay positive and just be like, "Woohoo!"
Yeah. It's like
It's happening.
because
How
obviously
exciting,
someone sees something in Gal Gadot that
right?
that they are not just putting her in Batman v Superman, but they're giving her own solo film. I mean,
Exactly. Well, and I think it's they not only see that in her, but they also see that Wonder Woman. They're willing to give it to Wonder Woman too,
yeah,
which is ultimately, I mean, that's so gratifying for the Wonder Woman fans who have been waiting
fighting.
decades
Yeah.
to see her. So this is their shot to see her.
Yeah. Now, one of the big complaints that sadly I have seen a lot of was about, I'm trying to be fair in saying this, Gal Gadot's body type.
Hmm.
Because when they think of Wonder Woman,
Hmm.
they think of, this very muscular Amazon, kind of like how she's drawn in various comics and everything. And yet, when I grew up with Wonder Woman, which was in the Justice League cartoon,
Sure.
she was not skinny. That's not right. But she wasn't like super ripped like say Batman or like Green Lantern or Superman was. And yet no one doubted she was one of the strongest people on the team. And yet everyone looks at Gal Gadot and it's just like, why? She's too skinny. She's not muscular enough. And I'm like, that's that's how she was
Well,
interpreted in one
and
medium,
also,
not all media.
well, and also, I mean, she's certainly like every actor. They're going to train
Yeah.
for the part, and they're going to get into shape, and she certainly has done that. And um, you know, I never played the picture I got from Bruce Tim when I auditioned for the part was the Wonder Woman we all know from Justice League,
Yeah.
and she's by no means a big Wonder Woman or
Yeah.
hugely muscular. Um, she's not broad. She's not. Um, she's certainly strong. I mean, that was
Yes.
always part of her characterization that she was very, very strong. But again, I think that everyone is entitled. I mean, this is going to be a different incarnation than what I had, what Linda Carter had, what other people had, and I think that people deserve that space to to do well. I mean, I think we just need to see. I think we need to wait for the film to come out,
I agree.
see it, and then let the conversations begin.
Yeah.
I'm not I don't mean to sound Pollyannish, but I don't really believe in putting people down about their body or about their body parts or
Yeah.
about their physicality, no matter what. I understand that there are certain expectations of what Wonder Woman should look like. And I understand that completely because I think it's like anytime you read a book, I've likened it to when they filmed Pride and Prejudice.
Okay.
People had an idea of what Elizabeth Bennet would look like. I did too. And so if your idea in your head as you're reading the book or a comic book is one thing, and then you see the person who's going to personify that character, and you're like, what? Like, she looks nothing. But that's your imagination,
Right.
and we all have different imaginations. And let's see how well she acts it. Let's see how well she embodies the character of of this woman. And I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited. And the thing is,
Yeah.
like, when I think about Wonder Woman, I think about a quote from Jeff Johns, and it was during this comic event called Blackest Night. I don't know if you heard of that, but it was basically Wonder Woman became this Purple Lantern, which is the embodiment of love. And when he was asked, why did you give that ring to Diana? He goes, because when I think of Diana, I think of someone who loves the world with all her heart, for no one loves the world more than Wonder Woman.
Hmm.
And I'm like, that's my Wonder Woman. And when I think of like even your, portrayal as her, she loved the world. She loved it so much that she disobeyed her mother to go and help the Justice League when, in the pilot episode,
Hmm.
when the White Martians came, and then even in subsequent episodes of how many times did she throw herself into danger, like when she stopped the missile aiming for Gorilla City. She didn't hesitate to stop that missile. It didn't matter she wasn't as bulky as Superman. She threw herself right at it because that's who Wonder Woman is. She loves
Right.
this world, so it doesn't matter if she's Gal Gadot or Linda Carter or any of these other actresses in the future, as long as they embody who Wonder Woman is, isn't that all that really matters?
Yes. I
So
mean, you and I are of the same mind on that. And I believe Gal just gave an interview where she talked about Wonder Woman's heart
yeah,
and how that's so much a part of the character of Wonder Woman. So, um, we can always talk after the movie comes out and then we can have a conversation about it. But I say let's stay open minded and hopeful and in that space.
there you go. So Wonder Woman just told you to go watch the other Wonder Woman and give her an open mind. So do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if you try and insult her beforehand, Hera help you.
Ooh.
All right. Yeah. I thought you'd like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So kind of going to the back end of this, Wonder Woman is going to be having a big milestone soon,
Hmm.
75 years,
I
which is an
know.
accomplishment for any character,
Right.
man, woman, any race. DC has not been shy about doing big things for their 75-year characters. Batman had a big thing. Superman had a big thing. Any plans for you to celebrate Wonder Woman's?
There will be some celebration. There will. I'm not even in the know yet of all of the plans, and obviously some things will be, um, some things I'll be invited to do, and other things I won't be. I mean, it's when you're when you voice an animated character, and when you're a movie star, those are there's different levels to this business, and everyone knows that. So as much as the fans have embraced me doing Wonder Woman, there's Gal, and they will, I'm sure, do quite a bit of publicity for the birthday and for her and for the movies coming out and all of that. I'm sure that will happen. I have been contacted, and I'm sure that there'll be some events that I do, and I just don't know what they will be yet.
Fair enough.
I'm hoping there'll be something at San Diego Comic-Con. I'm hoping there'll be things throughout the year to celebrate her. And obviously, the second I can talk about it, you bet I'll be talking about it and letting people know where they can come celebrate with us.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I'm hoping for your voice to return to Wonder Woman in some way, kind of like how they did Kevin Conroy in
Well, I
those.
can assure you that my voice will be returning to Wonder Woman in some way. I just can't tell you
Yeah,
in what way,
that's fair.
but
That's fair.
it will definitely be returning.
And I speak for all of your fans when I say thank you.
You're welcome.
Uh, uh, Now I'll admit I did some my research when I was getting ready to talk to you, and I think it's not. I I don't want to say appreciated enough, but I don't think it's known just how well accomplished of a voice actress you are, because I found out today that you voiced one of my favorite characters from one of my favorite shows, and I had no idea. You were Viper from Jackie Chan Adventures.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite jobs.
I was like, because that was like one of my favorite cartoons for a long time. I'm a huge Jackie Chan fan, and then I'm just like scrolling, and I'm like, wait a minute, she was Viper. Holy cow!
I
So
know that I have to say that's one of the things I love about having the website, which is fairly new, my website, because people can go on and see other things that I've done. And I love that because I've gotten a lot of emails from people and tweets from people saying, I didn't know that you did Jackie Chan, or I didn't know that you did Skyrim, or I didn't know
right,
you were on Destiny. And,
yeah,
that's hugely gratifying for somebody because as much as my career has been defined by Wonder Woman, and I'm grateful
yeah,
for that, um, at the end of the day, I'm an actor who is auditioning and trying to get work, like most people here in this city. So there have been other jobs, and Viper is probably next to Wonder Woman. Viper is my favorite character
yeah. I just
because of the show too. I
yeah,
mean, that was another incredible show
it
that we would
was.
be laughing so hard in those sessions because it was just great material.
Yeah, I just love how she just kept coming back. It's just like
I know.
because there's like the snake talisman episode, and she wasn't even there for the talisman, but then it was just like
No, it didn't matter.
kept coming
She
back.
was back. And James C, who I follow on Twitter and reconnected with on Twitter, who voiced Jackie, you know, he and I just had such a chemistry in the room,
You,
and there was just something about when we would come back and we would rekindle this relationship, and all of us together, and that was just so much fun. You talk about reunions, that was always a treat to go back and play with them.
yeah,
I mean, all of them, Jade and
yeah.
grandfather, like all of them. We had a
Uh,
great time
it
doing
was
that show.
Uncle. Uncle.
Sorry, Uncle. That's right. Sorry.
It's okay. I forgive you. No, just like that show was just so fun for me, and like one of my favorite Viper moments was when she gets the email from Jade. She goes, "Jade, hello." It's just the
Yeah.
way you like would just do that voice. It was just, oh, like you voiced so many incredible characters. And again, you did Wonder Woman, but you were Viper, and then you were in a Last Airbender for one of the key episodes.
Right.
Zuko alone, you were
Right.
Sela,
Right.
and it was just like, holy cow, you know. And if I ever have an animated show and I need an epic woman voiced, you're going to be on the top of my list for sure.
Well, fantastic. Thank you.
No problem. So, wrapping up, like I said,
Hmm.
Wonder Woman is, 75 years, which is amazing. She's gone through so many incarnations, from her early days to, from, you know, 75 years ago to now Gal Gadot. What do you think Wonder Woman means to the world, especially like now and going forward? What do you think Wonder Woman's really going to represent, in the next 75 years, and how the character has gone from one thing to another, and and you can answer this because you were Wonder Woman and you are Wonder Woman. So what do you think her place in history will be?
I think it's what she represents is timeless. Because I remember being we did a Q&A with Phil Lamar once, and it was me and George, and um, Phil was the moderator, and Andrea Romano was there, and Jennifer Hale
Okay,
was there because Jennifer did a lot of episodes of the Justice League.
she did.
And I remember her talking about how we all love the stories because there's right and wrong, and that in our stories, right wins.
Hmm.
And it's so basic and so necessary. And I think that doesn't change. I think that we as a society always need that. And there's such a simplicity in it. And we need to be reminded of it over and over and over again that there are places where right can win. There are places where civility exists and where there are good guys. And the good guys are the cool guys and cool women. And they do end up on top. And that message, I think, resonates. It resonated back when she was created. It resonated obviously with Linda Carter and with the Justice League, and it will resonate with Gal, I'm sure. And in some ways, it's bigger than Wonder Woman. Um, but I think that's why these characters have endured, and because they're so epic.
They
Again, it's
are.
so simple, and yet it's so epic. The messages are so like it's very plain. Good versus bad. There's a good guy and there's a bad guy. There's a good woman and a bad woman. And when you there's a security and a comfort and a safety in knowing that there is still a universe in which that exists. And I think that for as long as we need that, and I think we will always need that, then Wonder Woman endures, as does Superman, as does Batman, and as does, DC and the universe.
That's beautiful. I like that. I like that a
Well,
lot.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think if I was to correct you on one thing, I think it'd be this. I think there's a good woman, there's a bad woman, and there's a Wonder Woman.
Good one. That's a
Thank you.
good one.
All right. Well, I would like to thank you, Susan, for doing this interview and sharing both your insights on, Wonder Woman, past, present, future, as well as yourself. And it's been a true honor and a pleasure.
You know what? You're so welcome. I've said that to you. You've been so gracious and so, so sweet in our communications back and forth. And, it's just been a pleasure talking with you. And like I say, I love talking about her. So anytime you need a little Wonder Woman fix, you can, we can do this. We can chat. We can tweet. You can, and I'm thrilled that you discovered the Viper angle, because that's fantastic.
Yeah, I love Viper. That's awesome. And you probably shouldn't have told me that because I'm totally going to abuse this now friendship we now have. But uh,
No, it's like I think that's what I love about Twitter. This is, you get to meet people and they share their stories and they tell you that they were younger when they were younger, that they sat with their parents and they watched the Justice League for the first time and
anyway,
it became a thing that they did, or they ran home from school um, and they wanted to watch it, or they were going through a tough time and the Justice League made it better. I mean, there's just nothing more gratifying than hearing the stories from the fans and knowing that the show you were a part of had an impact.
and it did. At least for this fanboy right here in a Batman Beyond sweatshirt, it most certainly did. So,
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad.
and, well, on behalf of Miss Susan Eisenberg, I'd like to thank everyone who listened to this wonderful event here. Please follow Miss. Yes, I had to get that in. My boss is going to kill me.
I know,
Uh,
and I think you should.
yeah. Uh, but please follow Miss Susan Eisenberg on Twitter at Susan Eisenberg 1. She is absolutely amazing. Her fan base is also as amazing, and she is.
And let them know that they can, if they have any questions or anything like that, they can reach me also at susaneisenbergvoice.com, which is my new website.
You just did. There you go.
Oh, perfect.
SusanEisenbergVoice.com. Plug.
Exactly.
But yes, trust me, like doing this interview, everyone's listening, it's amazing. And she is exactly as kind as you've heard in this, 30 some odd minute podcast. So she will answer your questions. If you have fan art, send it to her. She loves it. She really does. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being fans of Miss Eisenberg, of Wonder Woman, of DC Comics, and I hope to see you once again soon.